The anniversary gift. Martha and Joseph Reynolds sat in their cozy farmhouse kitchen, morning sunlight streaming through gingham curtains. At 70, Martha still moved with purpose, her silver hair neatly braided, while Joseph's weathered hands spoke of decades spent building something meaningful. "Happy anniversary, my dear," Joseph said, sliding a small wooden box across their worn oak table. 50 years of marriage, and he still looked at her like she was his whole world. Martha opened it carefully, gasping at the handcrafted wooden brooch inside, delicate roses intertwined in perfect detail. "You made this?" "Been working on it in the shed for weeks," Joseph admitted, his cheeks slightly pink. "Thought it might go with your Sunday dress." As Martha pinned it to her blouse, neither mentioned the irony. Despite being worth billions from Joseph's revolutionary water filtration invention, now Reynolds Clean Technologies, they lived simply. Their wealth wasn't about luxury, it was about purpose. "Timothy's graduation is next weekend," Martha said, sipping her coffee. 18 already. Hard to believe our first grandchild is heading to college. Joseph's eyes crinkled. "He wants to study engineering, just like his old grandfather." "What should we give him?" "Your father's pocket watch," Martha suggested. "The one he always admires." Joseph pulled out the antique timepiece, its gold dulled from years of handling. "This old thing barely keeps time anymore." "Then let's have it restored. Maybe add something special, an engraving he can pass down someday." They spent the morning planning, two billionaires in overalls and aprons, discussing their grandson's future with the same care they'd once put into building their empire from their garage. "There's that jewelry store downtown," Joseph suggested. "Finest Jewels. They do custom work." Martha nodded. "We could go today. I need to drop off that donation check at the children's hospital anyway." Neither thought to dress differently. Why would they? They were just talking about a watch. The visit to Finest Jewels. After breakfast, Martha changed into her favorite lavender outfit, a simple jacket and pants she'd owned for years. Joseph wore his usual, denim overalls, work shirt, and trusty leather jacket topped with his gray fedora. "Should we dress up more?" Martha asked, glancing at their reflection. Joseph shrugged. "Why? We're just talking about a watch." They drove downtown in Joseph's old pickup truck, chatting about Timothy's graduation party and Martha's new rose bushes. Their conversation was easy, comfortable, two people who'd built a life together on shared values, not shared appearances. Finest Jewels gleamed like a palace. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbows across marble floors, while glass cases displayed jewelry worth more than most homes. The air itself felt expensive, perfumed with exclusivity. As they pushed through the heavy glass doors, a security guard in a tailored suit looked them over. His expression shifted from alert to dismissive in seconds. The message was clear: people like them didn't belong here. "Can I help you?" he asked, positioning himself between them and the displays. "We're here about a custom piece," Martha explained politely. The guard hesitated, then nodded toward the reception desk. "Check in over there." At the polished counter, a young woman with perfect makeup glanced up. Her welcoming smile froze when she saw them, her eyes flicking to a colleague in silent communication. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked, her voice cooling noticeably. "No, we don't," Martha replied. "We're interested in having an antique watch restored and customized." The receptionist's manicured fingers drummed impatiently. "I see. Well, our master jewelers are quite busy. The wait for custom work is considerable." "We're not in a hurry," Joseph said warmly. "It's for our grandson's graduation next weekend, but even if it takes longer, that's fine." Her eyebrows rose. "Custom pieces typically start at $20,000. Joseph nodded calmly. "That's fine." The receptionist seemed startled by his casual response but recovered quickly. "One moment, please." She retreated to a back office, whispering urgently to someone inside. The dismissal. Martha and Joseph stood patiently, observing the other customers. A woman in designer clothes tried on a diamond bracelet, while a man in an Italian suit examined gold cufflinks. Everyone looked like they'd stepped from a luxury magazine, everyone except them. "They think we can't afford anything here," Martha whispered, amused. Joseph squeezed her hand. "Let them think what they want." The receptionist returned with a middle-aged man in an impeccable suit. His name tag read, Bradley Wellington, manager. "Good afternoon," Bradley said, his eyes making the same dismissive assessment. "I understand you're interested in our custom services." "Yes," Martha replied. "We'd like to restore this pocket watch and perhaps add something special for our grandson." Joseph carefully placed the antique timepiece on the counter. Bradley barely glanced at it. "I see. And what sort of budget did you have in mind?" "Whatever it takes to do it right," Martha answered simply. Bradley's smile became strained. "Well, our master craftsmen are quite exclusive. The waiting list is extensive, and frankly." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of the smaller shops downtown. They handle more, modest, requests." The condescension was thick enough to cut. Other customers began to stare, some smirking at the scene unfolding. "We understand you have standards," Joseph said quietly, "but we were hoping—" "I'm sure you were," Bradley interrupted. "However, Finest Jewels maintains a certain clientele. Our work starts at $50,000 for restoration pieces, not including customization. Perhaps that jewelry store near the bus station would be more appropriate." The security guard stepped closer, clearly ready to escort them out. Martha's jaw tightened slightly, but her voice remained steady. "I see. Well, thank you for your time." As they turned to leave, Bradley called out loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Next time, perhaps call ahead. It saves everyone's time." The other customers chuckled, returning to their browsing as the undesirable couple was effectively dismissed. Outside, Martha took Joseph's arm. "Well, that was educational. Should we try somewhere else?" Joseph asked. Martha smiled, a glint in her eye. "Oh, I think we should give them another chance. But first, let me make a phone call." The phone call. Martha pulled out her simple flip phone and dialed a number from memory. Joseph watched, curious, as his wife's expression grew more determined. "Hello, David. It's Martha Reynolds." "Yes, fine, thank you. Listen, I need you to look up who owns Finest Jewels on 5th Street, Apex Luxury Holdings, and who owns Apex." "I see. No takeover necessary. Just have our lawyers send a letter. Standard business inquiry about their customer service policies." "Oh, and David? Have someone from our PR department call the local business journal." "Yes, about the treatment of potential customers." "No, nothing harsh, just educational." "Thank you, dear." She hung up and smiled at Joseph's raised eyebrows. "What did you just do?" he asked. "Research," Martha replied innocently. "Did you know we indirectly own about 30% of the company that owns their building? Fascinating how these business relationships work." 20 minutes later, Martha's phone rang. She answered calmly, "Hello, yes, this is Martha Reynolds." "Oh, you've reconsidered. How thoughtful." No, we wouldn't want to inconvenience anyone." "Well, if you're sure." "Yes, we'll be right there." Joseph grinned. "Shall we go back?" "I think that would be nice," Martha said, adjusting her wooden brooch. After all, they seemed so eager to help now. As they walked back toward Finest Jewels, Martha added quietly, "You know, Joseph, I've learned that sometimes people need a gentle reminder about treating others with respect." "Just a gentle reminder?" Joseph asked, knowing his wife's business acumen. "Oh yes," Martha smiled. "Very gentle. The kind that helps people grow." Through the store's windows, they could see unusual activity, staff members rushing around, cleaning displays, and what looked like Bradley Wellington pacing nervously while checking his phone repeatedly. "Looks like they're expecting someone important," Joseph observed. "How nice," Martha said serenely. "We do so enjoy good customer service." The realization. The transformation at Finest Jewels was remarkable. The same security guard who dismissed them now held the door open with a nervous smile. The receptionist who'd been cold was now warm and flustered, stumbling over apologies. Bradley Wellington approached them with beads of sweat on his forehead, his confident demeanor completely gone. "Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds," he began, his voice shaking slightly, "I cannot begin to express how deeply sorry I am for the misunderstanding earlier." "Misunderstanding?" Martha asked pleasantly, though her eyes held steel. "Yes, well." Bradley swallowed hard. "It seems we weren't properly informed about your status in the community." "Our status?" Joseph repeated, genuinely confused. The manager's assistant hurried over, whispering urgently in Bradley's ear. His face went pale as he listened. You're the Reynolds of Reynolds Clean Technologies," Bradley whispered, as if afraid to say it aloud. "Yes," Martha said simply. "Is that relevant to restoring a pocket watch?" "Relevant?" "Ma'am, your foundation donated this building to the city, and we lease it from." He stopped, realizing the full scope of his mistake. Oh my God. Other customers had stopped their browsing, sensing the drama. The same people who'd smirked at the inappropriate couple now watched in fascination as the store's staff practically genuflected. "Here's what we're going to do," Martha said calmly. "You're going to take Joseph's watch, restore it beautifully, and engrave it for our grandson Timothy. You're going to do your finest work, not because of who we are, but because every customer deserves your best effort." Bradley nodded frantically. "Of course, absolutely, our master craftsman will personally." "And," Martha continued, "you're going to remember this day. Not because you embarrassed yourselves in front of wealthy people, but because you judged human beings by their clothes instead of their character." Joseph placed the pocket watch on the counter again. This time, Bradley handled it as if it were made of precious crystal. "The engraving?" Bradley asked softly. Joseph and Martha looked at each other, sharing one of those wordless conversations that come from 50 years together. "To Timothy," Martha said. "From your grandparents who learned that true worth isn't measured by appearances. Make us proud." As they left the store, now followed by bowing staff members, Joseph chuckled. "Think they learned their lesson?" Martha adjusted her simple lavender jacket and smiled. "Some lessons take time to sink in. But I think they'll remember us." 2 weeks later, Timothy Reynolds received the most beautiful pocket watch he'd ever seen, with an engraving that would remind him throughout his life that respect costs nothing, but its absence can cost everything. And every time he looked at it, he remembered his grandparents, two of the wealthiest people in the world who taught him that true class has nothing to do with designer clothes and everything to do with how you treat other people. The end.